Afternoon, everyone. You're listening to Rybbon Radio. I'm your host, Colin Akers. You're listening to KSVU 90.1 FM, Hamilton Concrete, and we're just gonna start this show. And before we go on to the next songs, I have a guest here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, my name's Dave, otherwise known as Dawnchaser to my listeners around the world, and it's good to be here.
Nice. So you make music yourself, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that for many years now, many years.
It's cool to see someone else who does music, because I do my own music as well.
Cool.
And so you do like electronic, right?
Mostly, yeah, electronic dance, electronic ambience, and down-tempo, and been dabbling a little bit in folktronica here and there.
Nice.
And I'm sitting on a roster of a bunch of unreleased tracks that I got to get mastered once the rest of my album's all together.
Nice. Yeah, I like all those genres are like my exact genre. Like, have you ever heard of Orbital?
Orbital, yeah, I've heard of Orbital.
Yeah,
Yeah, classic stuff.
Orbital's really good. I have the, let's see, it's over here. There it is. I have the CD for Insides,
Oh,
which is
throwback, man.
one of my favorites.
Wow, yeah, that's a trip down memory lane there. If you got some KLF in there, we can really go to town here.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go on to the next song unless there's anything else that you want to say.
Yeah, we can always keep talking, keep going
All right.
between songs and all that.
Sounds good. So the next song I have here is by Radiohead. This one's called Idiotech off the album Kid A. Have you ever heard of Kid A before?
I have not. Let's check it out.
All right, cool. Here it is. This is Idiotech.
I've got a pain in my heart. I think it's because of you. 'Cause they kick me out of the forces when I laid a hand on you.
That song that just played was called Corrine by Metronomy, and the song before that was Idiotech by Radiohead. And I think next up we have some of your music, I believe.
Let's rock and roll.
All right. Let's see, is that one external in, I believe? Okay. All right, here we go.
Right now, you're on the threshold of an amazing adventure. A world of savage beauty.
Well, that was a really cool song. Definitely reminded me of old kind of 90s techno.
Yeah, I was trying to capture a little bit of an old school vibe there, a little chicane kind of sound, a little bit of old Tiesto and Armin van Buuren sounds.
Nice. So what did you use to produce that song?
So the platform that I sync everything through is FL Studio 21. I've been using that since 2005 when an old high school buddy of mine gave it to me as like a birthday present. So I've just been using FL Studio forever since back when it was Fruity Loops. And over the years, I've done different versions of this song using a lot of software synthesizers, Nexus and Omnisphere and so on, and Dune. But these days, I'm using a lot more hardware synths in my setup. So for this particular tune, I used the Virus TI2 synth for kind of the dreamy, atmospheric synth sounds in the very beginning of the song, and that little like beepy pluck also came off the Virus TI2. The main kind of plucky staccato synth sound came off of a Nordlead 2X keyboard that I'm actually selling right now. I've got a desktop rack module version of it so I can move to Europe easier with it. But I'm selling the keyboard version of it, and then the big wash synths that come and go and play like the big harmonic parts in the peak of the song, those came off of a Roland JP8080. Those super saws are untouchable by anything else, and so I always like to use them whenever I can.
Nice. Have you ever worked with like a Euro rack, like modular?
You know, I've got buddies around here that use Eurorack and do modular synths. I don't myself. It's too expensive to achieve the same things that I can do with a polyphonic, all-in-one kind of synthesizer.
Yeah.
And also, I do a lot of sound design work. That's where most of my bread and butter income comes from, is sound design. And modular doesn't really do sound like preset storage and storing patches and so on. And I need to be able to store presets so I can dump them to my PC and then sell them to people. So Eurorack isn't something I've gotten into yet, but who knows what the future will hold. Someone might gift me something that I'll end up incorporating into my setup eventually.
Nice. And what inspired you to make that song?
So this song was originally back in 2012. I was just fresh back from teaching in the Republic of Georgia in a little village outside the capital. I was coming back and I just booked a DJ gig over in Spokane, and I live over in Cedar Woolley, so I was like, the gig was in like the first or second week of July, so I was fresh back from Eastern Europe, and I just booked a DJ gig, and so I was talking to some buddies of mine. I managed to get one of my buddies from Seattle to come up and jump in the car with me, and we all carpooled over to Spokane. And as we were driving over, we were driving through mixed rainstorms, some clear weather, so, you know, we were getting the full North Cascades experience on the drive and just having a good time with that. And then as we got over the mountains and I was driving down through Washington Pass and looking at kind of the sun breaking through the clouds over Liberty Bell Mountain and Kangaroo Ridge and Vasiliki Ridge, I remember thinking to myself, there's something in this. There's a song in here somewhere. Not exactly sure where yet. And so I just sat on the basic, like, mental and emotional and, like, aesthetic concept of it. And then a buddy of mine from Finland sent me a MIDI file for a song that he'd come up with an idea for, but he was kind of stuck on. And it was the chord progression from Cascade Highway, and the you don't hear it in this version. I stripped this version way down, but the main version has like a fast arpeggio melody. It's like a real like hard adventurous driving tune. And he sent me this MIDI, and I sat on it for a couple of weeks, and then after the gig, I was going back through photos and video and such and just thinking about the song idea, and then I was going through my MIDI collection to just look for stuff to play around with, and I heard this riff, and I thought, this is it. This is the sound of Cascade Highway. It's big, it's epic, and it's adventurous. I have to make a song out of this. So a week later, I churned out the original Anthem Trance version of this, and I sent it to my buddy, and I just said, what do you think? And he's like, this is awesome. And he made his own version of it that's got heavier dubstep influences and some piano and so on in it. And so then the two of us put our collective versions into a release. And I was actually friends with one of my favorite producers on a German record label, Drizzly Records,
Nice.
This Swiss artist that I'm buddies with, Wave Tracks. I sent this to him. I'm like, hey, I think this tune's got something. And he agreed with me. And I said, this could totally fit on Drizzly Records. I've been playing their music on radio and at shows for years. This would totally be the right vibe for them. Do you think you could put in a word? So he gave me the demo submission email address for them and said that he'd put in a word, and he did. And I pitched the demo to the label, and they said, get this mastered, cut us some radio edits, and send it over. So then pretty much right away we were signed with a big German label alongside many of our favorite artists. And over the years since then, I did a 2013 version that's got heavier acoustic guitars in it and some more dubstep influences. In 2018, I started work on this when I started putting together a few ideas for a new style of music to write, and that's this deep kind of progressive sound that I've been cultivating. And then I also thought that I should redo the old 2012 version with all my hardware synths and my new production knowledge so that I can make it cleaner and punchier and heavier. And so that version I've been working on, and I was just working on this morning before I had the interview today. And this version I just released back in November earlier this year after pulling down some of my old releases, because over the years, I started picking up new production techniques for how to make things cleaner and sound nicer and be louder so that it sounds better on radio and live. So pulled them down, been reworking them, re-recording parts, fixing stuff, and then resubmitting them back to record labels, resubmitting them back to the distributors for the record label that I run. So bit by bit, I'm getting the old stuff back up in a new sound and new style almost. And this was one of those tracks.
Nice. And you mentioned that you run a record label, right?
Yeah.
I actually also run a record label of my own with
cool.
a friend. Mainly just focuses on, again, like electronic music and that kind of stuff. And so, like, is running a record label, is it like easy in your opinion, or is it difficult?
These days, it is really difficult to run a label. I've also been kind of slacking off on doing it because I've been focusing on sound design so much over the last few years. I got some really good business advice from an old girlfriend of mine back during the pandemic, and so I've been following that little rabbit hole of sound design work, and it's going to allow me to be able to afford an apartment in Eastern Europe and over time Western Europe. So it's been taking off, and so I've been focusing more on that, but I'm slowly getting back in the game. And when I actually am more focused on writing music versus just making music products for other musicians, I'm going to be devoting more time to cultivating new artists, finding more artists, and building up a label following, because these days, label compartmentalization is definitely a thing. Every label has their own specific sound they want their artists to cater to. There's certain degrees of exclusivity with what the artists can play live when they're signed to certain labels. And while I understand their reasoning for that, I don't entirely agree with that philosophy. I want to foster a more collaborative environment within the music scene. So I want to make sure that I'm finding artists that kind of are on the same page and have the ideas for what I like. I don't want to push a certain like production standard or sound per se, but the right vibe is what I'm looking for. So when the time's right, I'm going to be fully launching back into that. But right now, it's just kind of progressively rebuilding my catalog at a more professional and clean sounding standard. So everything sounds the way I have been hearing it in my head for all these years.
Nice. Yeah, with finding the artists for record labels and stuff, with my label, I personally go for very like just more kind of minimal, like glitchy style stuff, or even I've actually had a couple like kind of indie rock / indie folk stuff on my label as well. So I kind of just go for that like smaller artists who just want to get their stuff out there, most likely, or usually that's what I go for. I've had a couple. I had one album that was very IDM inspired, which was really good, by an online friend of mine, and I had an album or an EP from one of my friends who lives just over in Laconner, and it was a kind of a more folky style, like acoustic, split EP that I did a cassette tape of.
Cool. So what kind of stuff inspires your music?
I am really inspired by a lot of kind of really like heavily experimental, like glitchy music. That's why I've kind of started to get into Eurorack and modular, which I found a program that you can do that like on the computer. So I've been using that because, of course, modular synthesis is very, very expensive. Having to pay like $100 for a VCO or something like that. Yeah, it can get really pricey, but. Yeah. As someone who collects vinyl too, it's like the same thing, but just a little more cheaper. But I'm heavily inspired by like Aphex Twin one of my favorite artists right now is Oval, who is more of a kind of very experimental, like glitch, just pure textures and stuff like that. I rely on a lot on just kind of how the textures and how sound is like kind of like different synths that are like swelling in the background and some that are like really in your face in the front, but also like a weird like kind of high pitched glitch sound in the back. And also inspired by a lot of artists who are completely different. Like sometimes I'll be inspired by like a Bob Dylan song, or one of my favorite bands is The Books, who is more, it's like freak folk, but also mixes in electronic and a bunch of samples and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, Blind Willie McTowell was a tune, a Bob Dylan tune that gave me some ideas for one of the like down-tempo tracks on the next Dawnchaser album I'm working on, Wilderness Therapy.
Nice.
Yeah, the guitar part in that and kind of the interplay of the instruments there and the stripped back nature of it just really vibed there. So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can head on to the next song I have picked out here, which I have a Chemical Brothers track. Have you ever heard of the Chemical Brothers?
Who hasn't heard of the Chemical Brothers? They're OGs, man.
Yeah.
Got to get some Prodigy in there too.
Oh yeah. This was I recently just found this one at a thrift store, but I remember I heard the song Star Guitar because I have I think it's a DVD of like a bunch of Michel Gondry music videos, and Star Guitar was one of them, and that's how I first heard of that song. I've known the Chemical Brothers for a long time. I think the first song I heard was, I think it was Believe off of Push the Button back in like 2019, and since then I've been a pretty big fan of them. So yeah, I guess we'll get on to the song Star Guitar, and I'll play that one after a quick PSA.
Grip it and rip it.
Would you like to be on the radio? KSVU is looking for volunteers to be music hosts, talk show hosts, or any other show you want to propose. So if you want to be on KSVU Upriver Community Radio, let us know. Give us a call, 360-853-8588. All it takes is a little bit of training, and you can be on the radio.
And that song was Star Guitar by Chemical Brothers, a classic electronic band. So we have another song, another one of your songs that we're going to play here. Do you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, this one here is Daybreak, the Alpenglow edit. It's the Alpenglow version of a tune that I wrote for my first Dawnchaser album back in 2010. This one's slower, funkier, groovier, and I think actually more epic. You'll just have to hear for yourself and decide.
All right, let's check it out. That was a cool song. Is there any? So what's like the inspiration for that song?
So this song was inspired by actually the same adventure where I came up with the idea for my artist name. The original melody, the big chords, and the pianos and so and all that came out of a cycling trip I was doing from Cedro to Winthrop back in 2007. I was going to try to do a single-day ride to Winthrop and then camp out on the other side of the mountains and then bike back the next day. Didn't really succeed in that, but that's not the point of this story. But as I was biking up, I was just past Concrete and I was going east, and I was looking out towards the mountains, and I could just kind of see the sun starting to rise up over El Dorado Peak and all of the stuff in the range just looming over Marble Mount.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking to myself, this really is the most perfect time of the day. All the decisions, all the problems, everything from yesterday and the previous night are kind of going away. The day's decisions have not yet been made, so it's just all opportunities here as far as the eye can see. So that's the most perfect moment right there, is that moment of endless opportunity. And I thought to myself, I wish I could stay in that moment forever, like just chasing like the moment of endless opportunity so I never get boxed into anything. And of course, that's impossible. You always have to make a decision about something at some point. So you can never live totally with unlimited possibility, but it's kind of fun to chase the dream and chase the idea of that. It's like chasing the sunrise. You can keep riding after it, but you'll never catch it. So it's like, I guess I'm chasing the dawn here. And then when I got back from that cycling trip, I was like, Dawnchaser. I guess, that'd be kind of a cool artist name. That fits. So that's what I started calling myself and releasing as. And so that's just what I've been ever since.
Nice. So you get a lot of inspiration from like adventures and trips and stuff.
Yeah, mountaineering adventures, camping adventures, road trips with friends, international adventures. I got a whole pile of songs I'm going to be working on inspired by my last few trips to the Republic of Georgia.
Nice.
And I just rewrote one from 2012 that I came up with back then as well, and I just retooled the instrumentation for that. But I get ideas from a lot of strange and interesting places. The adventures are the more normal part of that, but parts of the Alpenglow tracks like this tune and Cascade Highway and the others, I actually got ideas that went into that song from Ross Dam, if you can believe it.
Wow.
I was taking a Dutch friend of mine hiking along the Ross Dam Trail in January 2018. And it was kind of cloudy, kind of misty, snowing a little bit, not the greatest scenic weather for showing a European on their first visit to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But, we made the best of it. But when we got to that guard shack on the trail that's connected to a series of transmission lines, and it's some kind of a monitoring station or something, we were standing there resting and hanging out. And suddenly, out of the clouds and the mist, you could kind of see the peaks. You could kind of see the dam down below. And just out of the mist, the dam started letting out this beeping sound, like these long, sad, slightly distorted beeps. They were just some alarm system from the dam, but they were a sine wave with a little bit of clipping happening to them in the audio wave because of how loud they were being blasted out of the speakers. And they were just echoing off of the mountain valleys and off of the lake and just echoing endlessly out there. And this went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, just these beeps happening. And I thought, if I wrote a song that was set up here in the mountains like this, and I wanted to catch that mood of that melancholy kind of feel, I should totally replicate this sound. I already know how to design the sound. I should replicate that and save it as a patch. So I did that, and then I started compiling the ideas for the Cascade Highway Alpenglow track together, which was the first of this series of tunes. And between that and an ASMR video that I saw by the ASMR YouTuber Gentle Whispering, she did one set in Yosemite National Park, and she was like watching the sun setting over Half Dome and El Cap and all that. Mm-hmm. And the rocks were starting to glow red, the alpenglow from that. She was commenting on the red glowing rocks and how pretty they were, and down in the comments I just said, oh yeah, they have a name for that glow, it's called alpenglow. And then she actually responded to me and said, oh, that's a really cool name for it. And then I was thinking, as I was reading that comment, thinking about my buddy and our adventures up at Ross Dam, I was like, actually, I'm getting an idea for an entire like series of like tracks I can do based off of this theme of like alpenglow, of sitting on a high mountain ridge watching the sun set over distant glaciers and the peaks all kind of glowing. What can I make that'll feel warm, groovy, relaxing, and still epic? And so that's where this Cascade Highway track came from, and I've been doing more remixes of my old stuff in that style and doing remixes for other artists in this style so that it captures the same mood. And it's actually been gaining a decent bit of traction, which is a little bit surprising because it doesn't sound very much like anything else that's out there. It's a little deep house, a little deep techno, a little anthem trance, a little bit kind of progressive, a little bit ambient. It's a lot of several things. And even the main trance pluck that I use in a lot of them was inspired by a hard trance pluck from an old Scooter side project from 2000. So it's all kind of this big mishmash jambalaya of sounds. And it's just been kind of an interesting journey to see all these little influences all piling together to create this whole new subgenre of music that I've been writing as side projects to my main things.
Nice. Yeah, I get a lot of my inspirations also from like trips and stuff. I usually go on road trips with my family to visit or just like to kind of go to like other states. Like we took a trip through Canada to go to Michigan to visit some family.
Wow.
And that gave me some inspiration to make kind of these really like atmospheric, also like it's mixing atmospheric and like kind of rock elements together. And that kind of formed my most recent album, which is just named after myself. Yeah, a lot of the scenery that we were kind of passing through would go from like mountains to just completely flat, and that kind of like transition, like very harsh, just like boom, like that.
Oh, Calgary.
And, yeah, going from like British Columbia straight to Calgary was like a huge change, and then you go to from Saskatchewan to like Manitoba, and it's just pure swamp over there. And yeah, the mosquitoes were terrible in Manitoba. Yeah. But I guess we can go on to the next song I have queued up here. This is a lot kind of more texture-based, like atmosphere-based. This is called Russian Mind by One Tricks Point Never. You ever heard of One Tricks Point Never before?
Can't say I have. Let's check it out.
All right, here we go. This is Russian Mind by One Tricks Point Never. Listen to KSVU 90.1 FM, Hamilton Concrete, and the song you just heard there is called Music is Math by Boards of Canada. Before that was Hope We Never Surface by Two Lone Swordsmen. So you listen to Boards of Canada.
Yeah, I've listened to a fair chunk of their tunes.
But next up we have here, this is one that you just recommended that I had. You want to introduce this one?
Oh yeah, Verbal by Amon Taubin, a Brazilian sample-delic artist. Man, this song is so crazy. But I've been listening to this since I was in high school, so it's a good time.
Nice.
Definitely a crazy tune when you've got a good sound system, because this thing's bass kicks.
Yeah. I've heard a little bit of Amon Taubin. I haven't heard too much of their stuff, but I'm excited to see how this one sounds, because I don't think I've heard this one yet. So
Grip it and rip it.
Here we go. That song was Nursery Rhyme / Breather by Uncle, which is a really great album, kind of mixing big beat and rock. Next up is a song of my own off of my, I think, 2021 album called _Trash. The song's called Simulation. And I also just hop right into that one. So here it is. So that was my song called Simulation off of my album _Trash, which has a very funny story to it. So originally the album was, I started working on it in, I believe, like beginning of summer 2021, and I was going to have it be released like later on in the year, like in October. And I think it did release in September, but I was going to have it released before that, like August, and I started working on it like March, I think. And I had the release date set because I was like, I could probably finish up these last couple songs before then. And I ended up kind of forgetting about it for a couple weeks, and I came back and was like, these songs aren't good. I'm going to delete them I'm going to wipe them and start making new stuff. And then I like took the songs off and was like, I'm going to do something different. I'll send you the album once it's done. And then time goes by and I'm getting really close to the deadline, and I'm like, oh no, this album's not even done. I have 2 songs that are done for it. So I decided, like literally the day before release, dumbest thing ever, I made the rest of the album that night. One of the worst choices I could have ever made for the album, because this was like my first release on on a label, and it was going to be like from the track that I had released as a single beforehand, which is called You Don't Ever Listen, had like vocals, and it was really like texture based, and it was heavy. It was very, very loud, and people were like, this sounds awesome, I can't wait to hear the whole album. And then the whole album was the rest of this, that song, and then the single I released were the 2 that I had done before I made the album in the night. And all the rest of the songs are very, like, you could tell they're lazy. It's just the same loop over and over again. But I learned from that, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. So my new album is a lot more well thought out, and I have done a lot more vocals on it. I've been working on it since, I think, 2022, probably. I've released another album in the midst of this new one I'm working on as kind of like a little update, I guess, which was my self-titled album, which was just me kind of straying away from what I usually do and going into more, I guess I could say like folk, like freak folk. But my new album is shaping up to be a lot better than this monstrosity. But yeah. So with you, how long does it usually take to make like songs or albums?
Albums. At this point, it takes years to get albums done because of delays and or rethinking creative or technical processes. Mm-hmm. Songs, I mean, back in, let's see, the Follow the Sunrise remix that I did and had released about a month and a half ago. Honestly, I started that one last summer. I probably wrapped it up in a handful of weeks and then sat on it through the fall. And then in October, between my trips to the Republic of Georgia, I went back, took a look at the mix, fixed a couple of things, and then sent off all of the trimmed versions, the extended and short versions, to the label. And they said that they'd get it mastered while I was gone, and then they scheduled it for release in January while I was still in the Republic of Georgia. Mm-hmm. So that one probably only took me a couple of weeks to actually work on. Like when I actually know what I want to do and how to do it, it's really quick to work on it. But if there's like ideas that I'm waffling about, or if I am indecisive about something, or if something isn't clicking quite right, then I have to go back to the drawing board and re-record things, and that just ends up taking more time. So it can take anywhere from weeks to years to actually get a song complete. But thanks to actually knowing what I'm doing now as far as sound design goes and mixing and producing goes, now the process is a lot more streamlined. And I actually have finished several reworks of previous tunes that I'd released in past years. I've got those pretty much all ready to go. I'm just going to pitch them to a few producer friends of mine for technical input to see if there's anything that needs to be leveled out or fixed in the mix that I missed. If everything's good, then I'm probably just going to start scheduling new releases to come out like once a month here for the remainder of the year, because I got so much backlogged material I've just been accumulating.
I work on a lot of my songs. I have like probably maybe 5 or 6 albums worth of just scrapped music I've made. A lot of it's just kind of messing around with like synthesizers or plugins that I find on the internet, and I do a lot of like genre hopping. Like I'll hop from making one genre to another one kind of based on what I'm listening to like at that time. Like I'll go from wanting to make like post-punk indie rock to ambient, and it's and like I'll have a project file that one day is like all guitars and drums, and then another project file that's just a pure like drone piece, and it's like 10 minutes or something like that. But I remember one time one of my friends online was like, hey, I was like, since you sent me some of your work before, how much like unreleased stuff do you have? And I was like, I have a lot. So I was like, I'll pick out a couple, because I was like, I'm feeling generous. I picked out a couple of my favorites that I work unreleased, and I kind of sent them over and said, here's some stuff you can check out since you liked the last song I sent you, and get feedback, because that same person I sent it to is another music producer who actually have a CD of one of his albums that I made with Kunaki, which is I made with like online, and I got his permission to make it, because I was like, hey, I have an idea for like a CD, and I would just get like a one-off for me. Is that okay with you? I guess I'm kind of bootlegging it slightly. And he was like, that's fine. I don't really care. And I was like, okay, cool. And hopefully, which I've been talking to him about it, I could possibly do a re-release of the it's not really an album, it's more of a compilation. And he was like, I'd be down to do a CD on your label if you want to. And I was like, hey, that'd be awesome. But a lot of my unreleased music I send to friends and stuff, usually like at its like stripped down to like its very basic like ideas, and never like a full-fledged track, because those are kind of like, I'm keeping those in the vault.
Yeah, I have a lot of in-progress projects, most of them remixes at this point. I've been working on a lot of bootleg remixes, or maybe official remixes. A lot of them are starting out as a bootleg, and then what I do is, after I've finished them, gotten them to sound the way I want to, and then I'll go and pitch them to the original artist and see if they're actually interested in picking it up. One artist was not, but the track itself was plenty good and got really good feedback from other producers and DJs, so I guess they just were not that into that style, but I just made it a free release on my website and on YouTube and so on. So that's the Eos remix that I did. But I did a remix for a Finnish artist that I've got the CD of, that I bought way back in the day in 2005, K-System. I did a remix of his track, Magic Sunrise.
Nice.
And he actually really liked it, so I sent him over the extended and the edit versions unmastered, and he's hanging on to those, and I think he's putting together either an EP or possibly a compilation album of remixes of his old stuff. So eventually that's going to come out when he's done building his garden shed and getting all of his other projects in order. And I've also been working on remixes of old Hands Up and Eurodance tunes like Florfilla, Cascada, and that kind of stuff. There's a few tunes from some of their various side projects that I like that would work as Alpenglow style tracks, or as kind of this deep trance sound that I've been messing around with a bit. So I'm just working on a few side projects alongside my main album tracks, so that I keep my ears fresh and don't just overproduce my own tracks and make them worse. So find fresh things to work on, but the Alpenglow stuff gets done the fastest, and then I just pitch those around and see who takes the bait, because it's a good way to build up, reputation, and it's a good way to build up a following by piggybacking onto other artists and their existing followers with your own sound, and then they'll be more likely to come and check out your things, and kind of creates this cross-promotional link that works both directions.
Nice. I've done a few remixes, mainly every time I do my own remix of a song from an artist who is like way higher up in terms of fans or like popularity than I am, I usually just kind of use it as like a way to test, like if I can, like how I could rework like what they made. But I've been approached by a couple artists, mainly in the label that I released this album on, my album _trash. I've been approached by some of the artists kind of in that label saying, hey, would you like to do a remix for my album? And I'm like, sure. So I did one remix that wasn't I think put on the album, because I had kind of been like, I don't know, I'll make a little demo thing, and then if you think it sounds good, if it's on the album, then you can put it on there. Because at that time I was like really into like more heavy industrial stuff, so I made this remix. I sent it over as a demo and said, hey, do you think this sounds good? It's like, it's a little too crazy for the like the other songs on the album. So like, okay, I was like, all right, understandable. But another remix I did was for an artist I knew whose name is Consumer. I don't remember what song it was, but that one ended up being on this like deluxe edition of two of their singles they had put into a full. They had made a full like compilation album off of it, and one of those remixes was mine. And then another remix I did was of one of my close friend's songs. He's makes his music on my label, and his music is a lot more like pop oriented. He goes by the stage name Dubs 101, and I made a remix for his song. It was called Icarus Summer with You, and it's like this just purely like pop, like Disney Channel sounding song. And I was like, I want to see how I can morph this into something completely different. So I turned it into this like really long, like kind of ambient, I guess you could kind of call it like a vaporwave piece, and it ended up going from a 2-3 minute song to a 6 minute long, just like pure, I guess like atmospheric track.
Funny how those work out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you just reminded me of a remix that I did for that artist I mentioned before that introduced me to Drizzly music. I did a remix for him in 2013, like a hard trance remix of one of his hard trance tunes, but later, like a couple of years ago, he asked me to do a remix of one of his upcoming new tunes called Heaven. And originally I did like a standard 138 BPM, like anthem trance kind of track. It was okay. But over the last couple of years, I've been listening to a lot more deep techno and minimal and so on, like Boris Brejcha, listening to a lot more of this melodic techno that's been coming out, like Camel Fat, Tale of Us, Cassis T, and so on. And I suddenly started thinking, what would happen if I took this track I've been working on and slowed it from 138 BPM down to 126 BPM? And so then I did that, and suddenly, like, I had to re-record some of the synth parts in order to make it all work, because I did it all with hardware, and FL Studio doesn't like sample stretching that extreme very much. But I re-recorded the parts and then played it back, and it was like, whoa, this track kicks. The bass drum is heavier, the bass hits harder, and the sounds are way more spaced out and more epic, and the reverb hits way bigger now because there's more time for the reverb decay to actually do its thing. So I re-recorded all the parts, I rearranged a few parts, added in some duduk and some piano and so on, changed the reverb type that I was using on a couple of sounds. I mostly use Valhalla Room for most things, but for pianos and certain other instruments, I'll use Valhalla Supermassive set to one of their big reverb sounds, so it creates this shimmer reverb effect. It's really cool on acoustic instruments. And then I pitched it back to him and I said, hey, so I retooled that remix I did for you, and I just wanted to see what you think. And he's like, I like this better.
Yeah.
Because I changed up, like, not just the tempo, but I also changed how the sounds were introduced. So instead of just dropping straight into the big synths like I do in pretty much all of these tunes, I dropped just into bass, kick, and like a big dark synth stab like you hear in a lot of modern techno, and then slowly introduce the melodic elements over the course of about 64 bars. So it builds up to the climax with the drums just kind of leading the way. The track is this dark atmospheric mood to start, and then just gets bigger and more majestic as it goes on. So yeah, and his track is still a more standard anthem trance kind of sound with all the super saw arpeggio riffs and so on. So it's pretty cool to be going in these different directions with songs that you don't expect to go that way because of the way the artist wrote their original. So it's fun to take something and then go a totally different direction with it, and see how impressed they get with that, because it's surprising to see how people react sometimes.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite remixes that was like taking a song and completely changing it was a lot of the remixes off of Beck's album, I think Giero. Isn't that how you say it? Yeah. Yeah. There was a remix version of that album, and a lot of this, and one of the songs was actually remixed by Boards of Canada, which was really interesting. But it was so cool seeing how these kind of more like rock hip hop songs were turned into more like techno and electronic. And there was a song that I think used a Game Boy Advance as like the sound card for the song, which was really cool. But it's really interesting to like see when people experiment with those like different like just completely things that wouldn't work as synthesizers. Like one of my favorite bands, Crystal Castles, for their first album, they used an Atari for all their sound fonts, and that was really interesting to to like listen to and hear all those sounds and be like, wow, that's from the Atari.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also reminds me. There was a song that came out years ago. This was like 2009, I think. It was "Sweet Disposition" by the Temper Trap. It's like a rock kind of pop punk kind of tune, I think, is what that would have been classified as. But I first heard it played in a Swedish dance club in the Stureplan district in downtown Stockholm, and it was a progressive house mix in kind of like pre-Swedish House Mafia era kind of vibes by one of their producers, like collaborating with someone else. Big epic synths, driving kind of house vibes and bass line and all that, and then the rock singer's vocals in the middle of the break. Totally different from the original, and I actually didn't hear the original until years later when I think I was like in a clothing shop in Tbilisi with my girlfriend, and I heard that song come on. I was like, wait a minute, this was a rock song? What am I hearing right now?
Yeah.
And yeah, so and it wasn't even remotely the country that it originally came out in, so it just made it even weirder.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can get back into some of the songs. We could probably play some Orbital.
Do it.
We'll do some Orbital. Let's see what songs we got on here. I think the first one is a good one. The Girl with the Sun in Her Head. That one's great. Yeah, we'll put on some Orbital right after a quick PSA.
Upper Skagit Library in Concrete, Washington is your place to learn, grow, and explore. We strive every day to enhance the communities of the Upper Skagit Valley through providing exceptional resources, services, and programming. If you live within the Concrete School District, you are eligible to get a free library card. Check out books, magazines, audiobooks, DVDs. Use our computers with high-speed internet access. We offer free 24/7 Wi-Fi service. Print, copy, and fax, too. Access a full range of resources online, upperskagit.lib.wa.us. Call us at 360-853-7939.
And that was The Girl with the Sun in Her Head by Orbital. 10-minute long song, but it's still really good song. Amazing song. So we have another song that you made coming up here.
Yeah, this one's a co-production, but on the subject of sun, this is called Follow the Sunrise, Opus 1, the Alpenglow edit. It was originally composed on a one-off in the MIDI Lab studio at Chapman University by one of my buddies when I was going to Chapman University back between 2005 to 2008. I think this must have been spring of 2007. Me and a buddy of mine, he was like a music major at the time at least, we were coming down, we were brainstorming ideas. I was like, I just got this new VST. It's got really good string and choir synths and stuff. Let's hook it up and let's, with my laptop, and let's just play something and see if you get something real epic. Like, think of something real epic that feels like a big mountain sunrise. And so he just started playing these chords, and this big massive thing came out of it. And I was like, okay, I'm saving this take. We're going to use this for a song when I get good enough to figure out how to make it work. And then a few years later, I managed to figure out how to turn it into a song. And that was originally the album version of Follow the Sunrise, but I wanted to do like a remake of it more recently because it's got a really good riff to it and it's got a real warm, epic sound, but I wanted to give it kind of a deep progressive vibe because then it takes on kind of like chilling at the beach at Ross Lake or something kind of vibes, like beach vibes, but mountain beach vibes. So this is Follow the Sunrise, Alpenglow edit.
Let's hear it.
Follow the sunrise.
That was a cool song. So what was that one called?
This one's off of the Follow the Sunrise Opus 1 EP, so it's just off of a single. This isn't going to be part of any album. The Alpenglow mixes are usually kind of my side project thing. My main album versions will be a lot more diverse in sound. Like all my Alpenglow tracks kind of sound the same because I have a specific mood I'm trying to capture for those. I do another series. It's called the Gone Campin' remixes, and those are more like kind of gritty electro meets trance meets dubstep kind of sound. So there's a lot more grit to those. The Gone Fishin' remixes are a little like the Alpenglow ones, but I use a different style of synth for that, and I use more of a house kind of electro house, progressive house kind of rhythm to it. So it's groovy, but it's got a different mood to it that's a lot more cheerful. You know, it feels like going fishing on a sunny afternoon out on Diablo Lake. So I kind of capture different moods with different styles that I do, and I give each of the different sub-styles that I make different names so that when people are listening or checking out my releases, they can find a consistent sound between different things. So if they like a particular sound that I make, they can just go straight to everything that's got that name and get a consistent sound there. Or if they want to, or if they're checking out my new release and they really like a certain style that I do, they can either check out the new thing I've done if they want to test it out, or if they want to wait until the sound that they really like is coming out, they just wait for that remix to come out. Helps me stay consistent with my release schedule as well, because if I release like an original version and then I do a Gone Fishin' version that comes out a month later and then an Alpenglow mix after that, it kind of keeps the song alive, but it keeps it alive in different formats, and it keeps my content current as far as my production schedule goes.
Nice.
So it keeps it regular.
Well, I think we could probably play the next song that you have queued up, and then we can do like the little, I guess, promos kind of, and then we can close out with this last song here. So do you want to cue up the next song?
Yeah, this next one's just a bootleg remix. It's not part of my official catalog, but you can download it for free off my website. It's been properly mastered. I made it for releasing on a label, but the labels just changed their sound in the time between when I first was releasing with them and when I made this, so they're not super into this particular style. That's just their thing, but it's available for anybody that does like my Alpenglow style tracks and wants something for free to tide them over while I'm finishing up new music. This is Eos, Dawnchaser's album, Alpenglow bootleg edit by Denga and Manus.
Let's check it out. That was a cool little song. What was that one called?
That one's called EOS, Dawnchaser's Alpenglow bootleg edit.
Nice.
That one you can find as a free download on my shop, on my on my artist website, kolshanmusic.com. And all of the other tunes of mine that you've been hearing tonight, Daybreak, Follow the Sunrise, Cascade Highway, etc., you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, YouTube, pretty much anywhere that MP3s are sold or streamed, so you can find them anywhere. And if you want to support me directly, you could either buy them on Beatport and help pump me up the charts a little bit so maybe I can get an extra DJ booking here and there. Or if you want to just put a little extra money directly into my pocket a little faster, you can go and buy these songs on my Bandcamp as Dawnchaser or on my website at kolshanmusic.com. I've got it all there so that you can access my music in as many places as possible.
Nice.
And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Mostly my Instagram is for posting up mountaineering photos. And Facebook is apparently for memes and for the occasional music post, so you can find me there as well. I do not use Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it anymore. I haven't found a use for TikTok just yet, so you can't find me there at the moment, but maybe times will change. We'll see how that goes. But everywhere else, I'm there.
Nice. And I played a couple of my songs earlier, so I guess I'll promo my stuff. If you want to look for my song, which is or my music, you can search up Rybbon, that's Rybbon with a Y instead of an I, on basically anywhere, same places. I don't have any like personal websites, but I do have a Bandcamp, which is of the same name. There's a couple other albums on there that aren't on streaming, so if you want to go check those out, that'd be awesome. But yeah, I guess we're gonna play this one last song here, and that's gonna kind of close out the show, which this song's called Fructose. It's a remix by KPT Michigan of a song by Schneider TM, which original name is Frogtoise. It's like frog and tortoise mixed together. I don't know. But yeah, before we start that, I just want to say thank you. It's fun having you on.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be back up here and chatting with all of the folks here upriver.
Nice. Well, yeah, we'll get into this last song, and that's going to close it out. So I will see you guys next week on Saturdays from 8 to 10 p.m. here on KSVU 90.1 FM Hamilton Concrete.
I had a dream. Sometimes I dream of nothing. Next morning it's even worse. Sometimes I wake up sweaty. Feels like I've just given up. Sometimes I don't wake up at all. I had a dream. Cause in my dream